You know those massive ships that carry pretty much everything we own? Well, right now they're sailing through a perfect storm. We're talking pirates, politics, droughts, and a whole wave of new regulations. The entire business of moving stuff across the ocean is being re-engineered from the ground up. So today, we're going to dig into what this all means for the global supply chain and, for us.
And that really gets us to the big question here. Is the whole global shipping system just broken? Or are we watching the birth of a wild, chaotic new normal? To figure that out, we've got to look at what's happening in the calm harbors and out on the crazy high seas.
So let's start our journey somewhere that, on the surface, looks surprisingly calm: the United States. In a world jam-packed with shipping chaos, U.S. ports seem like a steady anchor. But is that really the whole story? Let's take a look.
I mean, from the outside looking in, it really does look like business as usual. You've got major gateways like the Port of Los Angeles just handling a steady stream of cargo. Imports are strong, energy exports are consistent, so the ships just keep coming and going, making the West Coast a super critical hub for Pacific trade.
Okay, but what's so interesting here is when you break it down. The big win? Yeah, cargo is flowing reliably, which is fantastic for trade. But look at the issue. There's this constant, nagging pressure on the efficiency of the whole supply chain. So yeah, the ports are managing, but the system is definitely feeling the heat.
And that heat? Well, it hasn't gone unnoticed. Underneath this calm surface, new layers of complexity are being added. You've got two really powerful groups watching every single move with a magnifying glass.
So on one hand, you have the Federal Maritime Commission, and they're focused on the money, making sure prices are fair and the market isn't getting warped. Then on the other hand, you've got the U.S. Coast Guard, focused on safety, warning ships about heavy traffic, or even the risk of electronic interference. It's like a two-front effort to keep things under control, and it just goes to show how much pressure this system is really under.
So even in the stable U.S., the pressure is building. But when we zoom out and look at the open ocean, well, that pressure turns into straight-up vulnerability. This is where the world's most important trade routes are being tested like they have never been tested before.
And this comparison just perfectly shows how different the problems are. I mean, look at the Red Sea versus the Panama Canal. In the Red Sea, the danger's all about security, right? It's driven by conflict. So the solution is to just divert ships all the way around Africa. But in Panama, the risk is about logistics, caused by a drought. The solution there? You have to carefully manage a smaller number of ships passing through. Two totally different causes, both forcing the industry to literally redraw its maps on the fly.
And it's not just climate and conflict creating these problems. Over in Asia, you've got this booming trade, but it's being shadowed by the return of a really old-school threat: piracy. The Singapore Strait, one of the busiest shipping lanes on the entire planet, is a hotspot again, forcing companies to bake security costs right back into their daily plans.
And believe me, no region is safe from this. Even Europe's super-efficient hubs, like the Port of Rotterdam, are dealing with their own set of headaches. For them, it's less about pirates and more about the tangled mess of sanctions compliance and worries over GPS interference. It's a truly global web of challenges.
So we've got physical risks, we've got choke points, but there's another force out there, one that's almost invisible, and it's reshaping the entire industry. A massive tidal wave of new global regulations that every single ship has to follow.
This new wave is coming from the International Maritime Organization, the IMO. Think of them as the UN for global shipping. Their big mission right now is to push the whole industry to decarbonize. And we're not talking about a little tweak here and there. This is a top-to-bottom overhaul of how ships are built, how they're powered, and how they operate. And you can see the ripple effect right here. It all starts with these tougher requirements from the IMO. That forces shipping companies into modernizing their fleets. We're talking billions of dollars in new ships and tech. That, in turn, means switching to totally new, cleaner fuels becomes a core part of their strategy. And what's the bottom line? A massive, long-term spike in costs for everybody involved. So, what does this all add up to? You've got piracy, droughts, new regulations, congestion. When you can't even predict what route you're going to take, that old obsession with just being the fastest, it kind of becomes meaningless, right? This is leading to the biggest strategic shift in modern shipping, and it's all captured in this new mantra: resilience is the new speed.
And here is the absolute key takeaway.
All of these disruptions, the detours, the security threats, the compliance checks, they aren't just temporary headaches anymore. They are now permanent, baked-in features of the global shipping world. They're variables that have to be planned for every single day. And this has created a whole new philosophy, the resilience-first strategy. So what's that mean? It means the goal isn't just about being the fastest or the cheapest anymore. Nope, it's about being the most adaptable. The number one priority is now the ability to take a punch, absorb the shock, and just keep on moving, no matter what happens. This slide just lays it out so clearly. In the past, the model was all about efficiency. Find the fastest, cheapest route and hit the gas. Disruptions? They were just temporary glitches. But today, the model is all about resilience. The focus is on flexible logistics that guarantee things keep moving. Disruptions are seen as permanent, and the goal is to have multiple routes and multiple backup plans ready to go at a moment's notice.
And that brings us to this really powerful idea. The shipping industry isn't just grinding to a halt because of all this chaos. Not even close. It is fundamentally re-engineering its own DNA. It's not just changing its routes, it's changing its entire philosophy of how it moves things around the planet.
Which brings us right back to that new normal. Because, let's be honest, building resilience, modernizing fleets, taking longer, safer routes, all of that costs money. So the final question is a really big one. If this chaotic, resilience-first world is the future of shipping, what does that mean for the price of, well, everything you buy? Now that is the billion-dollar question for all of us.